Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to share some thoughts and theories about Manifest. This is going to involve me talking about spoilers in the most recent episodes at the time of recording this, that being the back-to-back episodes, episode 5 and 6. More specifically, some stuff kind of involving the ending of episode 6. So if you're not caught up with Manifest, do not watch this because I don't want to spoil things for you, so you have been warned. Obviously, I'm going to be repeating a lot of the same points I made during my review of episode 6, but I figured I'd kind of, just kind of make this its own thing. That way you don't have to sit through my entire episode 6 review if you don't want to. So, my initial thought, because of the ending of episode 6 where we had Jace dying, and at first it seems like, okay, Corey and Pete were going to be okay, but then we see upon Jace's death that Pete and Corey die as well, because it ends up being revealed that the whole story of the last trial, it turns out that basically because all three of them died at the same time, they were all being tried at the same time, not individually. So all three of them not passing, even though Pete and Corey did, Jace failed, and because of that, not only he died, but they died as well. So my thoughts and theories was that basically maybe this doesn't just apply to them, that maybe this applies to the passengers from 828 as well, suggesting that if all of them don't tip the scales of balance and kind of being on the right side of things, that they're all gonna die. So like they all have to. Once again, this could end up easily being disproven in like the next episode, but this is my current thought because of this. Maybe Jace, Corey, and Pete's circumstances were their own, because it's like, it's maybe their story, their situation, it's its own thing, and maybe it doesn't apply to the 828ers. But I like to my current thought is to believe that it does, because Zeke's circumstances are different, because Zeke was alone, so he alone was being judged, kind of. But the 828ers, once again, they're kind of a package deal, so that's what I'm kind of thinking. Because this whole conversation of most recently in Manifest has been about judgment, obviously the scales, like with Mott and everything, about, judging your actions in the afterlife and everything, and that these people are being resurrected to have a second chance to kind of tip the scales more in their favor. So with that potentially being what they've kind of set up, and it seems like they're not just applying that to Corey, Pete, and Jace. It seems like it might be correlated, it might be like in conjunction with like the 828ers as well, because if we look at Zeke's circumstances, that could be the argument that basically at the end of the day, like he tipped the scales more in his favor while he was able to come back, because Zeke is going to be the key figure going forward, because he's the only person so far connected to this giant mystery of 828. He's the only person that's connected that survived his death date, because we've seen someone who survived, and now we've seen 3 people who've died because of it. So it seems like that's particularly what they're setting up. Once again, he was the only one on the scales being judged in his circumstances because he died alone, whereas, like I said, the trio of Jace, Corey, and Pete were tried as a trio. So once again, I think like that's a complicated thing, because let's also not forget, like, the 828ers have like a 5-year like period, because they were going for like 5.5 years. Well, it's been like 2 extra years now, because it's been like a total like 7 years. The 5 years they were going plus 2 extra years over the course of the show, so they're down to about 3 years. They've got to like catch up with every 828er and kind of make sure everyone's on the right path, which is kind of messed up, because if one person fails, at the very least it's implying that everyone will fail. And my current thought is that the complication to that is, well, for one, just we don't know of all the 828ers, because it's probably also got to be sincere. And the comparison I keep making is to The Good Place. Like, it's the thing of all the good you do doesn't mean anything if you're doing it for selfish reasons, so none of it counts towards you being good. So, and a lot of 828ers, I mean, at least we've gotten introduced to some who kind of do their own thing, like Egan. He's kind of, yeah, he helped out and everything, saving Corey's brother, but at the end of the day, he's still kind of doing his own thing. Like, we don't know, like, all the previous callings he's gotten. Has he really ignored them? Has he taken advantage of them? Like, I'm supposed to do this thing, but I'm a prophet and make, look out for myself. Who's to say what other, I mean, like, another one would be like, I always forget, is it Andre? He kind of complicated things last season with like kind of like following, like creating that following where it's like, oh, like 828ers need to be worshipped and stuff like that, that were miracles. He kind of created a complicated circumstance, so he probably has to make up for that, which he kind of did in later parts of the season. So the scales might have kind of tipped more in his favor on the more positive side of things. So, but the one that kind of sits in my mind, and I brought this up during my review, was Sanvi, because Sanvi can't do what the callings are telling her because she's basically cut her connection. Once again, whether that can be restored or not, I don't know, because maybe the connection isn't completely severed, because she still has the death date potentially, but she just can't do anything about it. But for her, it's like, well, I'm making sure everyone else survives. Like, if I end up failing because of, you know, but she's still trying to find a way around a death date besides following the callings. Because it seems like this is such a, like, big thing of, like, you won't know how the scales are going to tip until the very end, like they did with Zeke. Who knows, maybe sacrificing for, his life for cows tipped him in the, like, just barely tipped him into green for all we know. Like, you know, he had a year to kind of like tip this, for the scales to kind of keep tipping back and forth. He did a lot to kind of repent for his past and stuff like that. He made up with his mom. He kind of fixed things, like, you know, with his ex. He kind of put her on a better path. So we don't know where the rest of the 828ers have kind of ebb and flowed over the course of these like 2 years of the show so far, you know, for the past few seasons. So that's something to kind of potentially keep in mind. Once again, this could all end up being just the trio situation is theirs and the 828ers is something else entirely. So that's kind of, like I said, more my current thought is. I'd love to know, is it something that you agree with? Do you disagree with? Maybe you have your own modifications, like you kind of agree with some aspects of my theory and everything, and you kind of have your own angle to it as well. Like I said, this could all easily get disproven in the next episode, in episode 7 of this season. So, but, you know, like I said, for right now, this is my thoughts, and I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.